Casey Donovan, together with our writer Amy Malloy. We thank you once again for joining us in The Space, a mindfulness podcast that's not like the others. Every Wednesday we say a whole lot of yes, with tips to boost your positivity and help you feel present. Tonight we're going to talk about an unpopular opinion: how to take up less space in your relationship. Don't worry, we're not talking about shrinking or silencing yourself. In some situations, being a little bit less can help us get more. It can also support the people we love and better our relationships. Let's explore this a little further. Taking up too much space in a relationship doesn't necessarily mean being loud or intrusive. This is according to author Michal Oshman, who talks about it in her book, What Would You Do If You Weren't Afraid? Taking up too much space can mean trying to overhelp someone. It can easily happen with our partners or your kids if you have them. We might not be leaving enough room for them to shine, to grow or make mistakes, says Michal. When we take too much space, it also limits how far a conversation can go. You might have felt this from someone you love. You've gone to them with a problem. You just want to share and be heard. Instead, they flood you with advice. Instead of feeling comforted, you feel overwhelmed. They're taking up too much space in your problem. So, what's the alternative? Michal talks about being present through absence. How can you support someone a lot by saying very little? When someone comes to us with a problem, can we put our ego aside and not be their saviour? When we stop needing to show the world how much space we take up, says Michal, it's a sign we feel more complete and comfortable with who we are. Okay, so let's talk practical steps. When someone you love comes to you needing support, stop and think. Do they need to feel smothered? Or do they need to breathe? Now, focus on showing them love in a way that makes them feel bright, light, and airy. This probably means not asking them 1,000,001 questions. Leaving moments of silence for them to think about their answers. Not asking them to make any snap decisions or bombarding them with any advice. But giving them space and time to listen. Not putting any more pressure on them. This is how we can shrink ourselves in a good way, to allow our relationships room to flourish. If the thought of shrinking yourself triggers you, that's useful too. Do a quick dive into why you feel that way. Have you felt like you've been shrunk in the past? Have you felt lost in another relationship or made to feel invisible? Let's take a minute to do a little visualization. Imagine yourself in a group of people you love. People you've known your whole life. Or people you fell in love with instantly. You're all sitting in the same room. You're sitting on a very comfortable chair to the side. You're watching the scene. You're listening to a conversation without saying anything. You're on the edge of the group, but you feel safe, loved, and wanted. You belong here without having to try and without having to prove yourself. Sit with that feeling for a few minutes. Relax into it. Remember it. Store it in your memory. It feels pretty good to shrink back sometimes, to watch from the sidelines, to let other people do their thing. Strategically shrinking is a pretty good party trick. It also gives you and your relationship room to grow in the best possible way. That wraps up another episode of The Space with me, your host, Casey Donovan, and the words of Amy Malloy. Join us tomorrow for another mood-boosting topic: how to be consciously incompetent. Space out.